justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Florence Brasser this evening. I would like to welcome everyone here this evening. Mr. Young and Rebecca, welcome. Thank you. The floor is yours.
All right. All right. Board President Husky, Vice President Richards, Superintendent Daly, board members, fellow administrators, staff, families, community members, and also our virtual friends, we welcome you to Brasser. Each year, Brasser staff come together to understand and to get focused on the work ahead by using our district goals. As you see in front of you, our brochure that we make to help us reach those goals. But for the last 5 years, we have become more strategic and more focused by connecting our district goals to our own building goals using our building vision statement by learning together, leading together, and achieving together. Once we've had our building goals in place, we then utilize a tool that Superintendent Daly introduced to us, Thought Exchange. Using this tool, it has helped us focus on the action steps that we as our staff decide, and they vote, and they decide which ones they feel are the most important. And then we go. This year, though, is a little different. We have experienced something that we have never experienced in our lifetimes and yours.
So when Mr. Young and I were planning for the school year, we were thinking about it as conquering a mountain. And we've used this analogy with our staff all since the beginning of September and a little bit before as well. If you think about climbing a mountain, you know, we're in a yellow zone right now, we have to use some extra caution, step by step, little by little, but with the help of one another, our staff, our students, and our families, we're confident that we will be able to succeed. This year, our main focus, just like the district, is to focus on relationships. We want to build meaningful connections with our students and our families with a culturally responsive lens. We are working toward that in every aspect of our daily life here at school. We want to make sure that our students, families, staff, and community all have these strong relationships. So our first piece of the vision is learning together. Our students learn together every single day, and our teachers and staff learn together, especially given the new technology tasks of the current situation. So everybody is really learning together. And because this is an amazing elementary school, we have a short little video clip of some kindergarten students learning their letters together in person.
Here. U. Up. Up. E. N.
And a shout out to Mr. Gundy there for his bravery with the videotaping him.
Moving on to leading together, we have agreed to enjoy and to ensure that we have relationships with our students, where we have equity, and that we also own our own biases, and we incorporate equity resources by being culturally responsible. Along the line of leading together, we also have committed to daily community circles to build relationships not only among students, but with our staff members also. Lee is here to tell a little bit more about circles.
And she's also in the audience. Hi Leah, how are you doing today?
Good.
Leah, I noticed when I go into your classroom that your teacher does community circles every day. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
It's like your teacher gets to know what you do and like to do a lot and stuff, and you get to know your classmates really better.
That's great. What are some things that you've shared with your classmates that they wouldn't have known about you?
That I like to go swimming and that I'm not scared of heights.
Nice. Did you make any connections with any new friends here?
Yes.
That's great. When you meet with your teacher, what are sorts of questions that you ask and you get to share about?
I asked like about our homework and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll like share what I did and what I didn't do.
Great. And is there any other things besides the schoolwork that you talk about?
We talk about how our weekends are and how we like to do things when we're not at school.
Great. All right, Leah, thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome.
And if you didn't notice, Leah is sitting right here in our board meeting. The next part of our goals in our vision here at Brasser is achieving together. We have another student that we're spotlighting tonight. His name is Raiden, and he's sitting right in the back there with his mom and dad. And Raiden is going to talk about how he sets goals in his classroom and how he works to achieve his goals. Hi, Raiden. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm great. Raiden, how long have you been a Brasser Bear?
Actually, I just started this year in September.
What do you like about Brasser?
I like Brasser. One thing I like about Brasser is that all the teachers are nice and there's not any bullies.
That's great. So I was in your classroom the other day, and I noticed that your class was doing some goal setting on your writing.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about your writing and your goal setting?
Yeah. One goal I had was I wanted to use more dialogue.
Great. What gave you the idea that that should be a goal?
Because this paper,
Yeah.
it had what, it's like a sheet, and it says, the grades of my past narrative.
Oh, so who gave you that sheet? Who gave you the feedback on there?
Miss Christiansen and Miss Collins.
Very nice. So you knew what you needed to work on. Great. So you're going to work on dialogue. But I see you have 3 goals there. Can you tell me about your other 2 goals?
My second goal is I will use more detail. And my third one is I will use more transition words.
Excellent. So Raiden, overall with your writing, where do you see your rubric scores going over the year?
They've gone up.
Awesome. And are they going to continue to go up?
Yes.
Great. Raiden, thank you for sharing with me today.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
You too.
One of the things I wanted to really point out about both of these students is that I have filmed a lot of adults for video clips, and it takes a very long period of time. Both of them did it in one take. There was no edits, that was just conversation between myself and them. So it was very authentic, so I wanted to make sure that you are all aware of that. So while we think about our Brasser vision and our Bates Chi-Lite vision and our goals, we always focus here on the Brasser way. Respect, responsibility, compassion, and hard work. And our staff really put a lot of effort making sure that those attributes are in every single thing that we do. We are currently working with our students, and in the days of COVID, we are virtually giving students shout outs for responsible behavior. We are really focusing on classroom behavior. They're learning this year, they're responsible learning with their digital tools. And in the classroom, each classroom has a jar with tickets. And we also open this up to families as well, so that families could give their students a digital shout out. Mr. Young and I know from our own children at home, any leverage that we can use as mom and dad when they are at home several days a week is helpful. So we're trying to make sure that not only teachers can give students the tickets, but also their caregivers at home.
So with this all in place, I wanted to share with you, throughout the strategic focus and our continued dedication to our students and families, we were recognized back in 2010. We represented Gates Chalai as being one of the top elementary schools in the nation by earning a Blue Ribbon Award. 10 years later, we now are excited to be able to be recognized by New York State as one of the top recognized schools in our state. And because of the hard work that our students and our staff, this is why we bring these awards to our community. Thank you.
And on top of that, we have the big award from New York State. Again, it's 750 districts with multiple schools in each to be recognized as one of the top elementary schools in the state is a huge, huge honor and speaks to the dedication of Mr. Young, the staff, and our community. It's an outstanding achievement and very difficult to achieve. And to be recognized again just shows the tremendous love and care they put in every day for our students. So congratulations.
Moving on to GC Pride Award.
We have a few.
All right. So our first GC Pride Award goes to someone who has been by my side since I arrived. She's a leader in her department, but also here at Brasser. She serves on our building emergency response team and our leadership advisory council. I commend her for her dedication in serving our families, especially during these tough times. Mrs. Brenda Minnie.
Folks, we've got a picture of folks. Can I get a picture? All three.
Yeah, you don't even have to smile.
Check out the tongue if you want.
Yeah, right.
All right, our second award goes to someone who has been a tremendous asset to our health department, but also our building. She serves as a co-leader in our Brasser Way committee and provides us some amazing bulletin boards and honors. She serves as secretary of our school improvement team, which is an after-school volunteer position. Mrs. Amy Lauder. Our next GC Pride Award winner has been a tremendous addition to our staff this year. With so many technology concerns and distributing over 400 laptops to our students, she's handled it like a 10-year veteran. Each day, she's building confidence in her role and therefore reinforcing our building's confidence in her. She also serves as the treasurer for our parents group, the FBFA. Mrs. Sarah Cedino.
Okay, I am going to continue. We have 3 more of these. We have 1 more staff member that we are going to honor. And this person is not only a leader in our building, but she is a leader for the entire elementary school PE department. Coach Ormsby goes above and beyond. I've been in education for 20 years now. I have never received so many unsolicited parent compliments about an individual. They absolutely, the parents, the kids love Coach. Coach goes so far above and beyond that she is planning for Brasser to do a turkey trot that is going to include all of our in-class, in-person students as well as our remote students. And we're planning that for next week, fingers crossed, for the weather and everything else. So, Coach, come on up. All right, this one goes to a brand new student at Brasser who is in the 4th grade. You saw him as the star of our Achieving Together video. And I want to tell you a little bit about Raiden. Raiden I met in late August, early September, when he was getting ready to come here to Brasser. And he was very excited, but I think a little bit nervous. And one of the things I noted about his video is that he said he liked Brasser because the teachers were really nice, but also because there were no bullies. So that says a lot about our school as well. And I'm so glad that he has found a special home here at Brasser. And Raiden, if you look over to the door over there, there's a couple extra visitors that wanted to see you. Raiden's teachers came to see him as well. Raiden, come on up for your award. All right, and our very last award goes to our other student star from our video. Miss Leah Jackson is a 5th grader here at Brasser. She had attended the district earlier on, was in a different district, and has come back this year. And she comes from a family that is a Gates Tri-Line family. Mom went through Gates Tri-Line and actually has had some of the teachers that we have in this very building. Leah is a student in Mr. Romeo's class, and she is described as always having a warm spark, great conversation, and always willing to contribute and take risks in the classroom. So Leah, thank you so much. Come on up, and we are so happy that you're there. Oh, we all have to go back?
All the winners, yeah.
All the winners.
Come on, all the winners.
That way we can go against the wall over there.
Come on back here, stand against the wall. Coach, you were coming to help, I know. You were coming to help.
It's hard to tell though, the
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Follow the rules. Yes, we have people who do that, so I want
Thank you very much. And now we're going to move on to the superintendent microcluster strategy. I heard rumors. Mr. Daly is going to tell us how he's going to consume all the rest of the Snickers Rice Krispie treats that are left over tomorrow.
Not those clusters quite exactly. So, 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon, or about 1:45 yesterday, I got a invite to go on with our county executive and the Department of Health, Dr. Mendoza, to learn that we were officially yellow zone status, along with most of Monroe County. Not all quite yet. How we got there, if you look at the state website for yesterday, in Monroe County, we had a 4.1% infection rate, and our 7-day rolling average was a 3.9%, with 284 positives the day before. So what a yellow zone means in the microcluster strategy at a glance, you have to have at least a 3% average over for positive tests over 10 days, the 7-day average. So we easily passed that as a county, and in areas, and the towns of Gates and Chi fell into this. So we're allowed to keep open, which is nice, because we'll talk about the other sections of what can happen. What's interesting is we are going to be required by the state to mandatory COVID-19 tests. And we need to conduct 20% of all students and staff each week in order to stay open consecutive while we're in this status, or if it evolves into the others. And so we learned of that yesterday afternoon with the administrative team and our great director of communication. We put together some info to get out to families. When we got off our call at about 2:30, we were told they wouldn't be releasing anything until later, and then literally 10 minutes later, there's a press conference releasing everything. So we wanted to make sure our families heard from us in regards to what we knew as of then and as it evolves. And again, with the testing, it's something that we're going to have to conduct on site. And working today, and actually I got a text message at 4:15 that at 4:30 we'd have another Zoom with information about this. And so right up to this meeting, I was in another one where we learned that the tests will be arriving to the county by the end of the week. And we'll be able to pick them up to bring back and start testing next week. The big myth is it's the one where you have the Q-tip like this that goes all the way back into your brain. It's not that one. It's a quick test that is just inside the nostril that we are going to give, and it's called rapid result. And so within 15 minutes, you'll either get 1 line or 2 line that shows up on the tube that's used, and it'll tell you either positive or negative. We're required each week while under this, so it'll be by next Friday, we have to report on 20% of any staff or students that are in person in the district. None of the permanent remote staff have to be tested. And again, this is something that is very fluid, and we're seeing it impact across the state. There's a good chance that the counties surrounding us are going to be in the same situation very shortly. Again, the three big counties in western New York, Erie, Monroe, and Onondaga currently are in the yellow zone and could evolve if the average goes above 4 into the orange zone. What that means is that you have required to shut down education and go fully remote for a minimum of 4 days. And then in order to open schools again under orange or red, you have to test 100% of staff and students that are in person. They have to have a negative test in order to come back and start instruction again in person. So we're hopeful that if we do this right and we get people tested and the results overwhelmingly come in negative, which would be very indicative of what's going on in our schools, it would allow us to get off the yellow zone status. Because when you think about it, you got about 15,000 tests that will be given in the public schools next week. Adding those 15,000 tests and increasing the denominator on the formula that they come up with to say how much is positive should help us break that number down. So hopefully we can get our region in average below that 3% threshold. So you see the impact already of being the yellow status tonight. We can only have meetings of 25 people at a time. And that you need to be cognizant of that. Big thing is, as we prepare to do this, because it's evolved since yesterday, again, we've only had about 30 hours notice this is going on. We've been able to contract with a nursing service that's going to come in and help us provide professional test giving when we get it set up. We sent a letter to parents this afternoon asking them to partner with us so that we can keep our schools open by giving us permission to do this. And they're going to have 3 options. It's yes, I give the school permission to test my child. No, I won't, but I will provide the district with proof of a test and the results from my either private physician or another site, or no, I won't allow the district to do that. We're hopeful that when people get to see what the test really is, it may change some people's ideas about how invasive it is. The county health department is creating a video to show what the test actually is. It's not as invasive as the one that everyone hears about with the going all the way back to your brain. So this is much less invasive. We're hopeful that families will see that and understand it's not as bad and be okay with doing it, because if we fail to reach 20% by the end of the week, we are not allowed to be in session. We have to go remote until we hit that 20%, and then you got to do it each week thereafter to stay open while we are in yellow status. So we're hopeful that the community will partner with us to help us keep the schools open. Overwhelmingly, feedback we get is we want our schools open for the kids. So this is a way that they can make that happen. So by allowing this to occur and participating when asked to, between staff and students, we'll be able to keep our schools open, because it has been proven that the schools are the safest place for our kids when it comes to the spread of COVID. So minor things that come around with being in the yellow zone. You have to be, bars and restaurants are closed at midnight now. That schools have to test. And the big thing being that they're really pushing our services to shut down any kind of large gatherings where people aren't wearing masks and using social distances. So we need to really hammer that home, because it allowed us to get out of the situation in the spring, and we can do it again. We need to make sure that we are keeping that message going so that we can get out of yellow and be okay. What they're really worried about is this Thanksgiving holiday and the coming holidays at the end of December, of people forgetting or getting relaxed about trying to stay safe. We need to do our best so that we can keep our schools open, so that we can keep offering that for our kids. Because we don't want to get into the orange and red zone, because then it becomes nearly impossible to stay out of remote-only education, because several people in the last 24 hours have let me know that in no way, shape, or form will we test their children. So for us to get to 100% to allow us to open again is not really in reality at this point. So we're very hopeful that by doing this in yellow status, that we can get back into a good spot in the Rochester area, keep our schools open, and move on. And a big thing that's come out since yesterday was, well, you're not testing my child without permission. And they're absolutely right. We would never test a child in this condition without parent or guardian permission, which is what we've sent out this afternoon to allow families to either give or not give that permission. We would never do that. Your kids are our kids while they're here, and we would not ask that. I want that to happen to our own children, let alone our students. So that is a guarantee from us. So with this designation, as we learn more, we're going to communicate out with families because it's a very fluid situation right now, to say the least. We're learning a lot. We're hopeful the county is able to get the tests when they arrive organized so that we can pick them up, get them back here, and then we're able to communicate out a schedule so that families know if their child, when given permission, will be up for testing this week or when they may be as we hit it, because it is a combination of both staff and students to get to that 20%. Learning a lot about testing, learning a lot about how you manage something this big, and then we also have to upload all the information to the state each day until we get to our 20%. So a lot of balls in the air right now, but we have an outstanding team working on it. We'll get it figured out, and we'll communicate it very clearly to our community as it gets refined and ready to go. We have meetings Thursday morning for the county to help us get ready for next week and get more information. And we'll communicate out regularly with families and staff to make sure that they understand what's going on as we learn what's going on. Did not expect this Monday to come, but as usual, we'll adapt and overcome, and we'll make sure that we do what's best to make sure our schools stay open and our community safe. Yes?
If a student is remote only but on the sports team, do they have to be?
Yes. If they're on campus at all, they have to be counted.
And if a family's not comfortable at all with getting testing either through their provider or the school, will they be switching to remote? Is that the option?
No. At this point, that is not the option. Our goal being that if, let's say we have a certain percentage that are refusing, we will exhaust leading up to that. And the state has not given us clear definition of, getting to 20% each week. Does it change for those that completely refuse to do it? So at this point, the answer is, I don't know. Which I'm really getting used to saying during COVID, or I'm hoping to learn that and report back later. Yes?
The test for it, is the test the one that's checking to see if they are contagious or if they have the virus?
If they have the virus active at that point.
Do you know reliability of that particular test?
I do not.
Actually, just for, so my son's in Syracuse, my daughter's at RIP. They've modified the test from the swabbing the head to blowing your nose and then swabbing the nostril. So that's the same way of getting, their way of getting what's up above in your head down to your nose. And so it's minimally invasive.
Yes.
So if that's the same test, my neighbor asked me the question, I said,
Yes.
if you're going to do it, it's most probably this test, because universities are using those tests. So I would have to suppose that it's endorsed by the,
That's the one the state's providing us.
so it is minimally invasive. So even for the parents that are concerned, it might be worthwhile, saying it's not.
As soon as we get the video to clip to share with families, I think that'll help alleviate it. And I get it. I wouldn't want my children having it shoved up that they didn't do. I understand. Yes.
Each building will be giving them to the kids in their building, the staff in their building, or will it be like a local spot for this?
It's going to be in each building right now, and we're talking about some other situations that may help it for families that are want to be there. So we're working out those details out still.
Any other questions?
Any answers?
Thank you very much.
I only have one.
Mr. Daly, any agenda changes this evening? No rush.
No agenda changes to this one.
Perfect. Moving on to board president comments. We wanted to congratulate Brasser for their award. It's a great accomplishment. We also want to take pause this evening and thank Charlotte staff, administration, support staff for the continued support and their fantastic efforts to make sure our students are safe and attended to, especially against the backdrop of the changes that occurred this week. I know it's becoming fast and heavy, and I know everybody has more important things to do, attending to student education, than to deal with the audible that has landed upon you, starting, I think, Sunday. So I think it's absolutely amazing that you were able to take this up, keep everything going, and making sure our children are educated and our students are safe. So from the bottom of our hearts, I want to say thank you and excellent job. And board president comments. Points of interest.
I had the pleasure of attending the senior Halloween breakfast on October 30th. I did it at 6:30 in the morning, up in Medina as well. Good turnout for the breakfast. Kids came in costumes, they did their voting. We had a group of parents step up with offers and activities for the kids to keep them busy. They had fire pits outside the parking lot to keep them warm. And it turns out that kids just enjoyed the time to see each other and kids that they haven't seen on a regular basis. But it was just a really nice sense of a little bit of normalcy in an abnormal way. But it was really nice event. Very well put together by Tom Hamill, the high school principal, and all the staff over there.
Thank you very much, Karen. Other points of interest? Nothing this evening. Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, there was a unicorn sighting then.
There was a unicorn sighting.
For Florence.
Go.
Go with that.
No. Thank you very much for bringing that up. Appreciate it. Report of meetings? Right?
We had the New York State School Board Association virtual annual meeting on October 31st, I guess it was. And because it was virtual, one issue that came up was how many people were in attendance. The requirement is we have 200 people in attendance. Normally, it's well over 300 when it's in person. So they have to work that out, in terms of that. The only thing I'll bring up is there were a couple resolutions that we had voted against that got passed. There seems to be a great deal of concern about abuses by parents and CSE mediation and charge or grievances, you will. I guess apparently downstate, people bring in lawyers and everything else, and districts are stuck with the cost for the most part, and they wanted some regress from the legislature. We'll have to see what happens. Beyond that, it was pretty routine, nothing too unusual. Okay.
Thank you very much, Ben.
I had the Monroe County School Board Association Steering Committee meeting last week, done virtually. The big takeaway from that is we talked about as Monroe County School Boards endorsing Dr. Leslie Myers-Small's letter to the College Board, asking for AP classes reflecting in some minority study classes to be added. I think the superintendents are going to be addressing it as well. It was not approved yet. We're waiting for superintendents to approve that, and then Monroe County School Boards will be asked to sign off on that letter as well, supporting Dr. Leslie Myers-Small. And then information exchange committee tomorrow is moved to 4 p.m. So anybody that was interested in normally going to those that can't during the day, if you want to go to that, you gotta email Becky Schultz, ASAP. No, 4 p.m. At the double.
Okay, thank you very much, Karen. Any other reports of the meeting?
One more.
Right?
We had the Monroe County Legislative Committee meeting, and we had Regent Brown and Regent Norwood attend. And they gave us a quick overview of the status of the Board of Regents. I'm looking for a permanent chancellor. Then we did ask questions about different aspects of things, and one of which was about teacher shortage, subs, alternative or certification. And they said they were pretty open, to any suggestions. So I'm sure NISBA and the superintendent councils are, giving them some advice or anything else. We asked them to tell us what they meant by reimagining education. And, there wasn't a good answer for it because nobody knows what it means. We did talk a little bit more about help with remote learning. And it's something they were going to be looking at. So it was nice to be able to talk to them in person. One thing that was interesting, we asked them about state testing, and they said, "Oh, don't worry, something will come out in a week or so." The next day, it came out that the Regents exam canceled in January. And they weren't negative about the state testing in the spring, the 3 through 8, but they weren't overly confident about it as well. So we'll obviously wait to see.
Thank you very much, Frank. Moving on to visitors' comments.
Sure. We made an accommodation due to the limit on people being allowed at meetings. We had some people reach out saying they'd like to make a comment, but didn't know if they'd be able to get in. So we asked them to submit the form that we always use, and then submit their comment in writing to our clerk, Ms. Dowd, and so we would read them to the board during this time period. We have 2 this evening. The first one being Tina Carney, 30 Everett Drive, 14624, in regards to dyslexia awareness. My name is Tina Carney. I'm a Brasser parent and advocate for struggling learners, including those who are dyslexic. On October 26th, the Child Aid Library hosted a Zoom panel discussion about dyslexia. 145 people registered and about 111 people attended. It was an informative, powerful, and collaborative opportunity that brought together several local community groups, including Gates Child SEPTO, in addition to librarians, teachers, community members, legislators, and parents. Endless thanks to all Gates Child members who have participated. The presentation and handouts are available online. Please email gateschild@gmail.com to share any feedback or request a presentation links. Together, we truly teach and learn and inspire excellence for all learners, including those who are dyslexic. Thank you very much. Our second visitor comment form was turned in by Tara Ferrari of 6 Charlene Drive, Rochester, New York, 14606. I have great concerns over the reaction to COVID-19 pandemic and its effect on our children and Gates Child. Despite what Dr. Mendoza says, I do not have COVID-19 fatigue. I am not fatigued. I am incensed at what we as adults are allowing to happen to our children in the name of protecting them from COVID-19. We have abandoned what we know to be best for their physical and mental health and safety and what is known to be best for their education. The state and the county are now requiring that all in-person students and staff be tested for COVID. If the district cannot get 20%, Gates Child schools were forced to go to enrollment. Let's think about what that means. Taking students from a safe environment, schools, and place them into an environment where they are more at risk for COVID exposure. Less educational opportunities for our students. The community's feedback from the survey done last week was pretty clear. Remote education is no substitute for the excellent education our teachers provide to students in person. And studies show that the students who will be hurt the most from this shift to remote learning are the most at-risk students. Where is the equity in that? There are many reasons schools should be open. Since we all seem to be focused exclusively on COVID risk, I will limit most of my comments to that issue. But as board members, you know that there are more present dangers which are far more perilous to our youth than the risk of COVID-19. These include, but are not limited to, increase in mental health disorders, drug use, suicide, social isolation, decline in physical fitness, etc. While we seek to cast blame on our neighbors for the rise of COVID positive cases in our community, the uptick in COVID positive individuals should have been expected. COVID-19, like many viruses, is seasonal. We have seen it around the world and across our nation. I am not a COVID denier, but I am a risk manager. I choose to take calculated risks every day. We all do. Other states and other countries have also seen a rise in COVID cases as expected, but they have not shut down their schools. They have made it a priority to keep schools open while they battle the pandemic. School closures do not protect children. In fact, the evidence points to the contrary. There's no valid reason students cannot be in school full-time. The policies of New York State, coupled with even more restrictive policies on Monroe County, are excessive and not evidence-based. Evidence shows that there has been no spread of COVID in our schools. Look to the numbers and please question why our children are once again being threatened by their government. 300 people in Monroe County were diagnosed with COVID last week. Of that number, 6 were elementary age children, and none of those children required COVID in the school building. We are fishing in the wrong pond by forcing our already overtaxed schools and children to bear one more threat to their well-being and education. Schools aren't the problem. I respectfully ask Dr. Mendoza, Mr. Bello, and Governor Cuomo to go fish in another pond. Our kids have suffered enough. We see you're trying your best to close Gates Tri-Li and other Monroe County schools, and we've had enough. If you're concerned about community spread, take your fight to the segments of our society that are responsible for the spread and leave our kids alone. I thank the Board of Education and Administration for joining the fight to protect our children. We need leaders now more than ever.
Thank you very much. That's the end of the visitor comments this evening. Moving on to the capital improvement update. Good evening.
Evening.
First up is the middle school project. Phase 1.3 middle school. Mechanical contractor, plumbing contractor, and electric contractor have all completed all of their punch list items. The general contractor is on board to be completed in the next 2 weeks. Bleacher installation has been completed, and we're working in that alternate 3 area. That will be complete probably in about a month. This project will be closed out in December. Final cost report's done on time. Came over. I'll do one more report on that, and we'll check this one off our box. And the next would be a couple pictures, and that's inside that alternate area 3. There it is. They were there for a split second. But after that, the floors all went in yesterday and today, so the floor's done, ceilings are done, paint's done. We're pretty much waiting for casework indoors, which should be next week after. Any questions on the middle school? Pardon me? No questions, thank you. High school, phase 1.5. Seems to be a pattern. The masons are laying block, steel guys are putting up steel. That's going to be ongoing. That's just how that goes. But a couple good things is we got the parking lot, that new parking lot over there. We got the binder in on that. Mechanical rooms, all the structural steel's done. They've actually poured the concrete decks in there now on the upper mezzanines. The proscenium wall is up. And if you get a chance to, anybody wants a tour, call me, because that thing is looking massive. It's very impressive. Up in the next coming months, we'll continue laying block. Mechanical and electrical contractors are just doing rough end, and hopefully in a month from now, we'll have all the structural steel on over the top of the auditorium itself. They've got it on over the top of the stage area, and that gets a concrete chip deck for it, and that'll be poured next week. So that part, we're working ourselves out the front with a crane.
Couple of cool stats. There's been over 40,000 units of masonry set. There's over 7,000 miles of conduit just under the slab. That doesn't count what we've done now in the masonry above the slab. So pretty amazing.
A couple pictures there. The first one up top is the stage looking towards the east. And the bottom picture there is setting a piece of structural steel. And the next two with the masons working, and then that pump crane is down there getting ready to start up in mezzanine, which they did on Friday.
Couple of questions we received out there is that we noticed there's two tones in the masonry. You see the darker tone masonry, that will actually be the finished block on the inside of the auditorium in certain parts. So that's why you see that. So where it's covered by the materials or different things, it's standard CMU. But the darker, almost black masonry will be the actual finish.
You get a picture of our, there at top.
Yeah, you can kind of see the silhouettes of the.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
Now it's just doing what it wants to do.
All right, so we're gonna go to 1.6.
I think I got to put it at the high school. It's not a question for it, because I don't know. I was dropping off something at the high school office one morning and run into Rich in the parking lot, carrying in lunch for the crew. Once a week, they provide lunch for the crew, and I didn't know if anyone else was aware that others were doing it.
So we take, every Thursday we take
Yeah, it was
care.
really nice to see, so I thank
There's,
you for doing that. Thank you.
There's 6 of us, and then we all get together and eat lunch, and it is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Something we probably started a year ago.
Yeah, we've been doing it all the time.
Yeah, last winter, we started with crock pots, and then that's why the grill is there, because summer came. and
I
we-
saw him here in the crowd, but he wouldn't share with me.
I'm on for this Thursday, so you stop and I'll share.
It's been quite a small resort. A lot of different stuff.
1.6, the two elementary schools. Disney is obviously farther ahead than Neil Armstrong because of the water main issue. The drywall is 80% completed Walt Disney, and, I'm sorry, 80% completed Armstrong, and 95% completed Walt Disney. Structural steel at Neil Armstrong is underway. Coming up in the next month, we'll keep on studying the exterior. You see a picture, Becca goes to the picture. That top picture is the exterior. There's some, Rich can explain them. They're not like the sockets on the outside. They're gonna take some time to frame.
Yeah.
We'll be all the next month framing the exterior of Neil Armstrong. We'll have that buttoned up before bad weather gets there.
So they stud the whole exterior and they develop the shape of what the building will look like. And then after that, they board it and they clad it with a finished metal material. So that's what you're starting to see, that the kind of the muscles structure that goes over the structural skeleton of the steel.
And that one, we're still, both of them anticipating turning them over at April break in school and then taking over the other areas. Walt Disney for sure, we're trying to catch Neil Armstrong, or just the way we can. And the second set of pictures there would be at Walt Disney hanging some drywall, and the restrooms, the ceramic tile Walt Disney in both bathrooms and the nurse's office are all done. We're ready, the plumbers actually have their hanging fixtures, I believe in 2 weeks. You guys are there for 14, and we're gonna do a little tour. Does anybody have any questions on either one of them schools? I don't think so. Thank you very much. You guys have a good night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Moving on to discussion items. Board member bio statement. Frank, would you want to stop?
Yeah, thank you. One of the issues that comes up once in a while is people wonder what we do as a board. And some people think we meet once or twice a month and that's about it. And I think it's important to share with the community that we do a lot more than that. And in our attempt to stay on top of issues and to be prepared for meetings, you know, we have 4 or 5 subcommittees that we have members on, plus the Monroe County School Board, plus other activities that we participate in. So what I was suggesting here is maybe just listing some of the committees that board members are on. So if somebody says, well, what do you do besides go to board meetings? They'll have it displayed. So the sample was just what I threw together from mine. It doesn't have to be that way. It can have any, you know, I don't have a lot of personal information there. Some people don't want any, you know, so just the stuff that would be relevant to being on the board, basically. But, you know, I've seen examples where people have indicated their family situation, that they have kids in school, don't have kids in school, you know, so they could vary. You can see the one that the sample was only like, I think, about 5 lines. And that's sort of like keeping it within a small, basically what I did, I took the picture from the website and I made sure that we fit in the length of the picture. So when you look at our bio page on the board now, it just says, when your term expires, your name and your email address. So all I'm suggesting is we think about maybe adding a little more. So we can standardize it any way we want. So, everybody have an opinion on it?
Thank you very much, Brent. Any thoughts about that?
I think it's a good idea. If people had any specific questions about committees that we serve on, let them know, we'll reach out with those questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Karen.
I mean, it could be helpful too in the future for people who want to run for the school board to know what types of committees or options there are to be a part of. Or what isn't there that they can suggest.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve.
I think we should include a phone number, but put Rob's number.
I think it's a good idea.
911, right?
I think it's a good idea that, you know, we expand our communication and share out what else we do. And if people are interested in participating on the board in the future, they get a good idea of what that entails and how we interact with the different committees.
I think our goal of communication and goal of the year, their board goal.
So I want to summarize, I think we have consensus of the board that this is a good idea. And then we can take this offline to maybe set a date on the calendar so that everybody could submit what the draft is, what they want to have, and we can collect that and turn over to Joanne and make sure it gets on the website. So we can talk about deadlines offline at this point. Does that sound acceptable? Okay, great. Thank you very much, Frank. Moving on to DIT committee update.
We had a very successful, well-attended DIT meeting. District improved, each of the buildings reported out. And we shared about the Board of Ed doing their study of white fragility, as well as the success of our root cause team of the year. And how we celebrate that. And as a district, we would be participating, or are currently participating in the 21-day United Way Equity Challenge. Over 200 people recognized as being district members participating, and there's more. But still, over 200 members doing that. We hosted a parent guardian GC Cares Week last week, where we offered both in-person and virtual training. Unfortunately, with the rates going up, we went to completely virtual this week, and that we'll be finishing the month with some great offerings for our families that they've asked for, whether through the local building, parent-teacher organizations, to the principals, or through the feedback that we received on our survey. What's your report, sir?
Thank you very much. Moving on to finance and facility committee update.
Sure, so the Finance Facility and Audit Committee met on October 26th. We talked about the internal audit. District Treasurer Sally Sanford noted that the Bonadillo Group would begin their preliminary work on November 19th and 20th. And then from there, they'll choose a focus area, and field work will begin shortly thereafter. The internal audit is an audit that our district is required to complete every year to look at internal processes. Any district over 1,500 students in New York State has to go through that process annually. We also talked about the internal claims audit report for the third quarter. It was a very good report on less than 1% of issues. There were a few follow-up questions that we're going to follow up on and report out at the next meeting. From a finance perspective, Ms. Parado joined us for the meeting, and we talked about unemployment, noting that due to COVID-19, we're seeing a significant spike in unemployment claims. We're challenging most of them because some of them were either fraudulent or not appropriately applied for, and so consequently, and initially, costs have increased. We are challenging those and anticipate we'll get some credits back down the road. But with that being said, in the interim, we're going to use our unemployment reserve to offset those costs. We gave a staffing report, noting that we filled the business office's open position. We also talked about some internal control protocols that we've implemented that are new to the business office. One of them being a key safe for an added level of security. We also talked about a central supply closet plan that we're putting into place in the district office, whereby we would create some purchasing efficiency and better inventory control. We also, from a facilities perspective, talked about the educational environment cultural assessment. Currently, there's focus groups in all 6 buildings being established. These include staff members, principals, and other members throughout the district. These focus groups will begin their work on November 18th and December 2nd. And then from there, we'll get a report of findings once that's complete. And then we talked a little bit about a new webpage on the district website, the facilities and securities webpage. This webpage has been created with a more outward approach in mind. We're trying to be more service oriented and reach out to people instead of them having to find us. We want them to find them. We want us to find them. So some pieces are still under construction, but we asked the committee to take a look at the existing content and see if there's maybe more things that we could be doing on that webpage. And that was the end of the meeting. The next meeting's November 23rd.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ball. Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much. Moving on, motion to approve consensus items B through F. Motion, please. Rob and Gary, questions or comments? All in favor? The vote is unanimous. Thank you very much. Moving on to action items. Recommended action, be it resolved that the Board of Education approve a written agreement between the superintendent of schools and employee A of the district executed on November 10th, 2020. Motion, please. Mr. Bailey and Katie, questions or comments? All in favor? Vote is unanimous. Thank you very much. Sorry, Joanna, I was trying to be more specific.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the MOA between the Gate Charlotte Central Schools District and the CSEA regarding changes in work times and routines during the COVID-19 pandemic and temporary hybrid learning model. Motion, please. Andrea and Michael Bailey. Questions or comments? All in favor? The vote is unanimous. Thank you very much. Motion to appoint the 2020-2021 members of the School Safety Committee. Motion, please. Andrea and Mr. Wong. Questions or comments? All in favor? The vote is unanimous. Thank you very much. Moving on to superintendent comments.
I know everyone's been anxiously awaiting the award-winning newsletter. Will be landing in your mailbox any day. Very exciting times. Second semester learning requests are coming up on November 30th. We'll be sending out a survey to parents and guardians to gather input on their choice for their children going into the spring about requesting either hybrid or remote changes. They'll be open for about 2 weeks to either choose to stay with their children's current learning setup or request a change in the spring semester. We received news this week that our APPR waiver was approved by New York State. allowing us not to have outsiders come in to help with the observations of both teachers and administrators. This is great news, so as we're trying to limit the amount of people coming in and out of our buildings. Again, the 28-day challenge, we're very proud of our over 200 GC family participating in this. It's led to some great conversations at multiple levels of the district. And to share with what Frank said earlier, readings are canceled in January. There's an FAQ that they've also released on what it means for our students. We're excited this week also to celebrate our school psychologists, as it's our school psychologist week. They're all outstanding examples of our Spartan way. Tomorrow, schools are closed to honor our veterans for Veterans Day. We thank our veterans for all they've done for us and our country. This afternoon, we sent out information to parents asking them to participate in the testing program that we're required to do for being in the yellow zone for New York State. We hope that many will choose to participate, and we'll get more information about that as we gather it from our county. Tomorrow is a monumental day as well for our associate superintendent of instruction. We were told today to honor, in many ways, Carol Stem's birthday tomorrow, in whatever way we see fit, so happy birthday. Unfortunately, someone showed me how to use the all call button on the phone for the whole building, so we celebrated Carol as she was trying to run back to her office. So, in front of you, we got the last two things to go over. I was nominated to replace retiring Superintendent Spencer Port on this House of Delegates and the New York State Education Department's Commissioner Advisory Council. So it's pretty exciting to do that. It'd be nice to be able to advocate on a state and national level for our district. I'm going to represent the west side of Rochester on this. So that's pretty nice to do that again. I did it in my previous district representing a different region. It's a great way to be able to advocate for our students and staff and community at the state and national level. In front of you, you have the results from our thought exchange with families. I wanted to go over the top 10 comments that we received. Again, rating on a scale of 5. Number 1 coming in, feedback from families on how are we doing and where can we improve as a district. Number 1 was need to improve the area for additional assistance for kids that don't work well with home learning. Number 2 was my elementary school kids love their teachers. Number 3 was hold focus group with parents, which we're organizing. Many schools have already started doing. Number 4 was a few teachers are having excellent communication with parents to help our students. Number 5 ranked was, I would encourage the district to summarize these top concerns offered by families in the survey and address these concerns in a report. We're doing that. Number 6 was the lack of equity is still glaring between, and what we're talking about there is between remote only and in person. Number 7 was it's tougher than I thought. I heard that quite a bit in several ways throughout the survey and feedback given back that, especially with our youngest learners, parents and guardians found it very eye-opening with the amount that they had to help out their students that were on remote learning with the computer and other factors. Number 8 was there needs to be a live forum for parents to voice concerns and get answers in real time. We were going to organize those. Number 9, be mindful of the amount of screen time for all students. It's a great point. And number 10 was if students are missing major portions of work, parents should expect the teacher to reach out. So we're going to organize these and have a way to share it out. This will be on our website. But taking that feedback to heart as we look to consistently improve. It's great feedback. Our administration team will be breaking it down and implementing most of the suggestions as we look to do that. And a lot of these are incorporated into the events we're hosting for our GC Cares Month with our families. So excited to share that. We also participated next. Are there any questions on this?
Any questions?
We also participated through Energage in surveying all our staff. Many people thought I was nuts to do it during the pandemic and the startup we had, but I wanted to get authentic feedback from our staff to say what kind of work environment they have, to give us feedback so that we can look for areas to improve, and to celebrate some of the parts that we're doing well. What's exciting is that we had 71% of all employees participate, which is pretty awesome. So out of 807, 572 responded, and the average rate is 67%. To qualify for the contest for top workplaces, you had to have at least 35% participate, so we well exceeded that. So big thing they talk about is engagement, and what is it? And we have highly motivated people that are motivated by the company that give their best every day. Are they committed to staying? Do they want to be here, or are they looking to move on? And are they willing to recruit others? And what I've found in our district tremendously is the word of mouth about the great things going on here leads to a high recruitment rate for us. So some of the feedback we received as far as engagement. So this slide shows the overall engagement score for our school district. We had 55% that said they were engaged or highly engaged, or I'm sorry, enthusiastically engaged. And so that's about par with what people do in the first year. Many districts that have done this have done it for over many years. And when you look at our trend data versus districts first starting it, we're right about there. And to be listed as disengaged, you had to answer 2 or more questions in a negative manner. And I'm not surprised at these numbers because we've had a very interesting start, end of the last year and start to this year. So this is great feedback to get so that we can continue to support our employees. On the next slide, they gave us a culture cloud. And so these are words that are based on employee responses to the question, what 3 words best describe Gates Charlie Central Schools? And the ones in green are the positive, the grays are in the middle, and the reds are feedback that is not from people that were in the disengaged category. So, the biggest one most often said was diverse. We got inclusive, understanding. We also have confused. We also have miscommunication and lacking. So we have got a little bit of everything. And we're using this to help leap into how are we going to engage our culture to continue to get better. So with the next is, these 6 areas stood out as the strengths that Gates Charlie should show. And so with this, some of the highest scoring were our management. Employees have hired less than a year ago. So we're doing a nice job with the new employees, keeping them engaged. The mostly remote, really like the opportunity to work from home. Our faculty and staff, 6 months to 5 years, really enjoy the district. Less than 3 years, making more than $50,000. They really like to spend size of that job. And both remote and on-site Gates Charlie Central School District enables me to work at my full potential. For the top areas that they would say are strengths for us. So what areas do we need to work at? The ones that show us where we should be working at is, my job makes me feel like I'm part of something meaningful. My principal helps me learn and grow. And if I get my glasses checked. The meetings at Gates Charlie Central School District make good use of my time. So it's ironic because one of the top 20 comments is, and the positive is, meetings at Gates Charlie make meaningful use of our time. So people really hate meetings or really like them. There isn't much in between, and I understand. I feel well informed about important decisions, and we do things efficiently and well. And employees hired over 15 years ago were areas that we need to improve upon. And we're able to break this down by building so we can see what the strengths and weaknesses of each building are so that we can help drive forward in improving our culture. So On the next one, this talks about a quick view of what's driving each of these areas being selected as focus areas. And you can see that there's feedback under each. And who selected that based on their experience. So these are all areas that we can look to grow, which is what's huge about the survey. It's nice to get all the good news. What I'm looking for is, what are the areas we have to get better? It's nice to hear what you do well, but it's more important to know how can we improve. And that's why this survey is going to be so powerful for us as we continue to grow as a district. We've got to know from our staff, what can we do to support you? What can we do to make your work environment better? This is going to help us get there. You know, it's not easy to read, you know, because you always want to think you're doing a wonderful job and everything's all great, but it's not. And we know that. And we know that we have to continue to work together to improve. So this helps us get there. So part of it is, what about the superintendent inspires your confidence? There's a couple of things in here that I'm currently doing okay on. But the one I really look to is the next one. It talks about what can he do or she do to gain your full confidence. And the big thing is communicate more frequently, worry less about branding the district and focus on what is happening with teachers and students, be more visible, make more appearances at schools, be transparent, direct, and supportive, and providing the necessary tools and funds that are required to make this unfunded desired mandate of synchronous in the classroom possible. So those are all good feedbacks where I can look to improve as the superintendent to inspire more confidence. And it's great to hear that. These are things that are achievable and attainable. So that helps me to get better as your district leader. Then on the last page, this comment cloud is the words that our employees use to describe why they love their jobs. One of the questions was, why do you love your job? And these are the things that were shared by our staff. And this really is a great way to end it. People are called to work in education. And it's something you either can do or you can't. You can work with people to get there, but it's something internal that drives people to make a difference in children's lives in all aspects of our culture. And this really speaks to that. And this is where we want to drive everything, so that in a year from now, when we do this survey, and you look at that other word cloud, there's a lot less red and a lot more green and gray. If we can move towards doing that, we can continue to improve, and I believe we will. We have an outstanding group here that is doing a lot of great things together and continuously looking to improve. We have an outstanding academic program. We have technology that is really enhancing everything we do. And we have a culture that is developing to really support all learners, all cultures, as we look to continue to make H. Child the premier district to come to in the Rochester area. So with this survey, we're breaking it down even further with our staff so that we can make sure that we learn from this and use this to help drive us to get better. Any questions? So we find out if we qualify for any of the awards in January, and we're hopeful, but most first-year districts don't get in, but we're hopeful we could be considered because we know this is an awesome place to work, learn, and grow. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bailey. Any comment?
I am comment free.
Any comment free? I want to especially thank you very much for sharing that with us. It's a great baseline to comply with and going next year. And I think we're all excited to see how that changes year over year. Appreciate it. Motion to adjourn. Gary and Mr. Bailey, number one.
Bailey number one, here. Oh, here we go. Andre is spelled with A, Michael with M, so.
All in favor? The vote is unanimous. We are adjourned.